Rob Gronkowski, the WWE 24/7 champion, is coming out of retirement and has been traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Honestly, what the hell is 2020? Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom Grossi. Yeah. All right. I guess we're doing 3 videos today. Yep, it's fine. It's draft week, Tom. You don't get sleep. Yeah. Crazy things happening today. Rob Gronkowski coming out of football retirement, even though he hasn't played a game since the Super Bowl against the Rams, and is, I guess, not joining the WWE anymore. He hosted WrestleMania, and that didn't go so well, but he won the 24/7 championship. At this point, honestly, I don't know what's real anymore. Are they going to have a steel cage match in the middle of a football arena? I mean, just go for it. I mean, Vince McMahon is being sued by Oliver Luck, so at this point, who the hell knows? So yes, Rob Gronkowski and a 7th rounder have been traded to the Buccaneers by the Patriots in exchange for a 4th rounder. He will be paid $10 million on a 1-year deal. So Gronk is 30 years old, and as I mentioned before, hasn't played since the Super Bowl against the Rams. And in 2018, didn't do a whole lot. Only had 682 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also missed 3 games because of a back injury, also an ankle. You know, I feel like for both teams, this worked out well in that he wasn't obviously coming back to the Patriots because he needed to go see his boy Tommy. And then the Buccaneers, you know, they got a tight end in which Tom Brady has an awesome connection with, and they gave up a 4th rounder for him. Now, obviously, this leads to the question of O.J. Howard, which we'll get to in a moment. But if I'm looking at it just from a perspective of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm really, really excited to see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play football this season. Hopefully, please God, COVID, don't take this from me. Because I feel like with Chris Godwin, with Mike Evans, Brady, obviously, Gronkowski, and then, you know, that defense with an emerging stars on it, I think that this team could make some waves, and I'm just going to be fascinated to watch them. Them and the Cardinals are like the 2 teams that are really sticking out to me that I feel like are just going to be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. Now, will they win the South? I mean, obviously, they have the contenders still in the Saints if the Falcons ever decide to do something, and then the Panthers, who knows what they're doing. But I think it should be damn good football, and we get to see Aaron Rodgers face off against Tom Brady, which is always a great thing. So one of the other questions that comes out of this is what happens to O.J. Howard? And just when I thought the O.J. Howard DMs were done, they come back like a wave from that movie Deep Impact. You know, when the meteor hits it and the big wave comes over. Yeah, that movie. The DMs were just like, should we get O.J. Howard now? And here's what I'm going to say about this. I did a whole video on him, and the answer is no. That's the short and sweet answer. However, if they're like, you know what, here's for a 5th round pick, which I don't think they would do, sure. Why the hell not? At this point, I don't even care. Just if a 5th round pick gets you to stop DMing me about it, then yes, I will take it. But the guy obviously has some athletic skills. The guy has some talent, you know, hasn't really been utilized a whole lot in Tampa, but I wouldn't get him for more than a 5th round because I'm kind of over it. Jay Sternberger, I think, honestly, he said it on the interview that I had with him, is that he would be the number 1 tight end coming out of this draft, and I wouldn't doubt that he might be a 1st round pick. So let's rock with him, guys. Let's just rock with him. So yes, no to O.J. Howard. Let's see what the Buccaneers decide to do. Then we also got some Packers signing news. They signed 2 defenders off waivers from the Miami Dolphins. You had defensive tackle Gerard Willis and then Jamal Davis, the defensive end. Now, looking at both of these guys, they were both undrafted. Willis, undrafted in 2019. He was released at the end of training camp by the Ravens. He wound up going on to the Dolphins in November. Barely played any snaps with them. Had a couple of assisted tackles, and that was about it. In college, in 2018, he had 34 solo tackles, 4 sacks. He's 6'2", 255 pounds. And, you know, I got some questions about him, and I feel like, you know, similar to what we're going to talk about with Davis, is there competition for camp? Obviously, defensive tackle is most likely going to be a target for the Packers in this draft. We have to re-sign Kenny Clark, and we also needed to get him some help at DT. Now, if we look over at Jamal Davis, another defensive end, he's another undrafted guy, had 47 solo tackles, 16 for a loss, 5.5 sacks, and an interception in 2018. He was on various different practice squads before ending up with the Dolphins. And again, they both fall under the same exact categories at their competition in camp. If I'm just looking at it's interesting because if I'm looking at both of these guys, they're obviously going to be able to compete to try to get a roster spot. Willis, I feel like, has a good chance to get a roster spot just because we need depth at that position. Maybe he gets a practice squad spot. But I feel like he's the worst player. And then Davis, I feel like, has a bigger upside, has a higher ceiling, but we already have a bunch of guys at defensive end. We obviously have outside linebackers who can line up as defensive ends. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys participate in camp. But yes, and people are asking me about, like, is this going to change our draft strategy? Are we going to go more offense now? No. This literally is a personnel move in which we're just getting some more depth, some much needed depth, and we let them compete. Again, it might even be the same thing with Devin Funchess, but yeah, I wouldn't be too excited just yet. I don't think this is going to change the Packers draft strategy at all. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think the Buccaneers, if this has put them over the top to be contenders? How do you feel about our newly signed guys, and do you think we should go after O.J. Howard? Let me know. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out Packast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the Patreon members over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. But thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go to sleep now. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.